We have very special guests.
Today, Amos is not here. So
Yeah.
he's feeling a bit unwell, so I'm standing in for him. So he's just having a little bit fever lah.
So everyone put in the comments like, get well soon.
Yeah.
Amos.
Most probably Amos is watching this live from home also.
I think he is.
Yeah.
Because he commented.
So today we have two special guests and we're going to introduce them. They are Nerine and Haren from the All Terrain Overlanders. So they are a couple on an epic journey to travel around the world on their dirt bikes. So in today's podcast, we're going to find out about their inspiring story, hear about their challenges, and learn from their adventures.
But one thing, I think the keyword, keyword is dirt bikes. Not adventure cruisers, adventure cruisers or sport courers. So everyone, okay, so if you guys need to know, right, you see this thing in my ear. This is what I'm listening to so that I know audio is okay.
Let them introduce a bit about themselves and how did the idea to travel around the world on dirt bikes come about?
All right. Okay. Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Winston and Mark, for having us here today. As you guys know, we've just come back from this crazy adventure. For 1 year, 11 months, we've been on the road and we've been on dirt bikes. I'm on a KTM 500 EXC, an old lady 2013 model bike, and Nerine is on a
CRF 300L.
So yes, as you guys know, if you guys following 333 for a long time, you guys would know that this is actually my second time doing a podcast with you guys.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me back. The first time was actually when I talked about, going around the whole of India solo. And of course, that will play into this trip. That was the lead up to me becoming a biker, becoming someone who really enjoyed touring. And then, of course, going into the off-road scene and everything during COVID and becoming more of an off-road rider. And then finally, how I met Nerine and getting everything together for this trip.
So sweet.
Hi guys, I'm Nerine. Thanks for having us on the show again. So I actually got my license on a whim in around 2016 because I just wanted to be legal in riding in like places like Bali, Phuket, where you just scooter around, right? I know you don't really need a license for that, but I did law as a degree and I didn't want to get into trouble with the law, so of course I had to get a license.
By right, you need a license,
I mean,
right
yeah, but in Bali nobody cares, right? So I got my license, but I actually never owned a bike in Singapore as a promise to my parents because they said, yeah, you can go upscale, but no riding in Singapore. So I said, fine. So I didn't have a bike at all in Singapore for years. And then came 2019, I was between jobs and I thought, where should I go in December, December to January, 5 weeks. And I actually did a solo biking trip from Ho Chi Minh to the north of Vietnam in Ha Giang, which is the border of Vietnam and China.
That time, do you know Haren already?
Not yet, no. This was around 2 years before I met Haren. And I knew nothing about bikes. And I got a Suzuki GD125. It's a manual bike. And I just putted my way through the mountains. I had an accident along the way. But what actually, clicked in my mind was that I was stranded in a mountain on one of the days and I had to kickstart my bike. And I had no clue on how I could kickstart a bike. So on the spot, I just Googled how to kickstart a bike. And I managed it. I was like, man, how do I not know?
Old school riders, this is like, if we don't know how to kickstart the bike, we don't go anywhere.
Hey, but actually, I have never ridden a kickstart bike before.
Oh, bro.
Huh?
Yeah. Never. Really, I never ridden a kickstart bike before.
Someone throw away something right now.
So what inspired you all to take on such an epic journey? Was there a specific moment or experiences that make you to commit to it?
Okay, so that was also when we first met. So fast forward a little bit, I told myself I better learn some, servicing, maintenance of bikes or just improve my knowledge on bikes. So came COVID in 2021. I actually was looking for some uncle in Xingming or Kaki Bukit to take me on as an intern, as a disciple to just learn servicing. So I asked around and actually a friend told me, hey, there's this guy called Haren Katao. You write to him on Instagram, buy him coffee. He's very passionate about bikes. He'll tell you everything, So then that's what I did. I wrote to him on Instagram and he was like, yeah, okay, let's meet for coffee. And that's how things started. So he taught me things like, change of engine oil, improve my riding skills, off-roading. He expanded my mind from just scooters and kapkya to dirt bikes. Then we talked about what was our dreams after COVID and we both really enjoyed the adventure of just traveling around the world or just traveling across countries and understanding new cultures.
So my dream comes on for after what I talked about in the previous podcast where I met you guys and, we talked about riding India solo. My next dream became to ride a dirt bike from here to India so I could go like really explore all the really wild and upcoming places in India.
But you didn't, do you do that?
No, I
You
didn't.
do that,
But
right?
that was the plan. Like when we met, I said, Nerine, the moment things open up after COVID, I am riding to India.
Yeah.
And then she was like, hey, if you ride to India and another 2 more countries from India, you reach Europe, like Pakistan, Iran, Turkey. And I was like, oh yeah, huh? The world isn't that big. Let's do it. But unfortunately, the border between India and Myanmar never opened. Like till now, there's a civil strife there, unfortunately. So, you can't cross the border into India. So then we decided, hey, let's do China instead. And then we, started correspond with a few travel agents. And finally, we decided to go through China, which was very different, very interesting. And then that pushed us into Central Asia. We're talking about the stans, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. And eventually that also made us go into Mongolia. And, so this whole thing created a big
When our
diversion.
turn,
You know that we want to ride to UK, right?
So based on
Really?
one of the episode in Bikers and Bike, so one of my dream was actually to ride from Singapore to UK. There's actually a couple of people that I know, not personally, through social media, they actually ride to Singapore to UK. One of them was a pair of doctors. So I don't know whether you all know about them.
Po,
Yeah, I think so. So I have a similar dream, but because I'm a photographer, so I would want to take pictures of people along the way and print out as a portrait to give it to them as a form of gift. I think I share with Mark a lot of
Yeah.
times.
Oh, he's got the whole thing planned out already. Like legit, he's got everything planned out. Like what printer lah, then like how to run the power lah.
Yeah, so I think the only thing that I lack of is the off-road riding skills lah. To carry it through.
Actually, talking about skills, right? Like Nerine, I know when you first started riding, off-road wasn't your strongest lah. Then you started taking lessons and all. By now, you should be quite awesome, right?
I think so, but I still take 2 hours to warm up.
So usually most of the time you're riding in the front.
Yes, especially when it's off-road, usually I'll be riding in front. And then, I will choose. And if there's sand coming up, I'll tell Nerine, get ready, the sand is coming, and so on and so forth.
How do you all prepare for this journey, like both mentally and physically? Like, do you have to learn any specific skills or techniques for this trip?
But when it came to doing off-road or exploring, I'm very itchy. I see a trail, I want to go inside. Maybe
Amen.
it's my,
Like him.
Amen.
maybe it's just how I am. Maybe it's because I'm a mountain biker. I'm used to like riding into really small little
Wait,
trails.
are you bicycle first or motorcycle first?
Bicycle first.
Like off-road bicycle first?
Off-road
actually,
bicycle
yeah.
first, yeah. With the adventure bike, sometimes it stops you. It just stops you cold. You're like, no, I can't do this. Or if you drop it, you can't pick it up. All these things come into play. But with
Yeah.
a dirt bike, it's basically like just a bit bigger than a bicycle. You've got an engine. It will take you wherever you want to go. So
And
that's
it's
where I
lighter.
knew. Yeah, and it's lighter.
Yeah, so if you drop it also.
Exactly. My full setup with my luggage weighs lighter than a Tenere 700 dry. Our luggage, I think mine weighs 40 kilograms and hers weighs 40 kilograms.
About there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why did you choose your CRF 300? Why did you choose that
Okay,
bike?
so my requirements, I had a long list of requirements. I said that cannot be expensive like KTM. Okay, must be fuel efficient because I don't know, I'm just very anal about fuel efficiency lah.
Honda.
And I said
Honda.
reliable. And I said that, it cannot be too high maintenance because of cost as well. So he told me, CRF 300 lah, that's what Ichi Boots did. And it's proven, it's a proven and tested
Yeah.
bike. So go for it.
So the bike has not break down on you yet. Guys, Haren has a trick, why he chose that KTM. Just now he was sharing with me. What's the trick? He has exactly the same bike at home. Yeah, you know why? Let him explain.
Basically, there's a utmost like worst case backup in case everything fails, my bike engine completely blows up. I have another KTM 500 at home and it's the same series, and worst case I unplug the engine from there and put in the one that I have. Honestly, when I left Singapore, I did not have confidence in my bike because it blew up just before I left Singapore. Of a fault of my own. I ran it out of oil in Malaysia.
This is what you will see. Look,
Kan now you change underwear, you change engine,
I think, but it is quite a very smart move to have another backup at home for
Yeah.
any emergency rather than
Yeah.
wait and source and then
Correct.
delay the trip.
Correct. And many people were like, hey, Haren, why are you taking this KTM 500? It's going to blow up on you. Like, I had hundreds of people telling me the bike will not make the trip.
Even along the way, people were like, that's not a wise choice to make, to ride a KTM 500. But I mean, he was very well prepared. He knows the metal inside out.
Yeah.
So what are the bikes that people advise you to get for this trip?
Good question.
Yeah, so people would say usual choice Tenere 700, well-known bike. A lot of questions was, why don't me and Nerine take the same bike?
Yeah.
Why did we take different bikes? And I said, well, a CRF to me is a very boring bike.
I think different skill level. Skill level.
So since you all have used so many gears, like is there any particular gear or any modification on your bikes that you swear by on?
Wow, definitely.
Giant fuel tank.
I mean, that's a modification. What about the gears or any equipments that you use that you swear by?
Cardo is a must-have.
Yeah, so
communication,
right
communication.
before we started the trip, I remember it was just 1 or 2 weeks before, we quickly asked you guys for your Cardo edge, and it's worked amazingly well.
Edge?
Yeah.
And the edge is so useful, especially when you go off-road. He reminds me of all the challenges ahead, and then he does his all coaching instructing on the Cardo. Sometimes I will have to switch off halfway because it's like a bit too much information. I just want to go.
Fun now.
Got trick.
Of course, a bit fun.
Got trick. The volume. Press and hold 2 seconds.
What are the biggest challenge you faced during preparation? Like, was it more about logistic, finance, or even getting support from family and friends?
I think one comment there is, can we talk about what documents needed? And I've actually come super prepared.
Yay.
Here it is. The Carnet de Passage, the most talked about Overland document. So the Carnet de Passage basically is like this bond that you need if you're going to travel overland. I think it's probably, in a way, the most important document. However, if you are Singaporean, Singapore probably is the only country where you can overland from all the way to London without needing the Carnet de Passage. You can actually do it without a Carnet de Passage.
As in, you don't need that document.
You don't actually need it.
But where do you get this document?
Because we knew we wanted to take the Silk Route. We knew we wanted to go through Iran. And maybe we would need it for countries further down the line. But to go from Singapore to London or Singapore to Europe, if you are willing to take the Russian transit visa or a Russian tourist visa, you can actually go through Russia all the way to Europe. You can totally go from Singapore to Kazakhstan, transit to Georgia, and then you're still in Georgia. It's nowhere near where, or maybe it's kind
I
of
would
near,
prefer
but
to take that road.
Yeah, that is actually
you are
quite a safe
skimming
route.
by.
safe road.
You're skimming by. You're just skimming by the place, the start of where it's starting to get a bit hectic.
So even going
hot.
through all these places, you don't need that document.
Besides Iran, no. If you go by Georgia, you will go from Georgia into Turkey and then into Europe already.
You have plans to explore the Kazakhstan, all this area. That's why you need to have that document.
No. Kazakhstan don't need. All the stans don't need, only Iran. And Iran is a bit of a bottleneck. If you want to follow the Silk Route, which has a lot of history, a lot of culture, then you need to go by Iran.
So this document is issued by the Automobile Association of Singapore, AAS. There's an officer there who will go through the procedure with you. So you need to do things like, apply for deferment of inspection of your vehicle with LTA, extend your road tax, get your insurance. So you need all these.
Wait. Extend your road tax, extend your insurance.
I know, right? These are very local Singaporean requirements while your bike is going to be overseas for most of the time for like at least a year. But yes, you still need to maintain road tax and insurance in Singapore.
I need to go there. So along the way, the authorities in those countries, do they require a physical proof of the registration of the bikes?
Yes. So of all the countries we've traveled through, which is around 17 or 18, only Iran asks for the carnet. Other than that, it's just your physical passport and our vehicle log card, which is called bike passport. So usually the officers will be like, passport, bike passport.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, have you seen our vehicle log card? It's just a printout from the LTA website.
Correct.
So we hand that flimsy little paper, right? So many times we've been questioned, this thing? No, we want
The book.
vehicle passport, bike passport. They're looking for like a laminate or a card or something, which we don't have because we just have that piece of paper. And some authorities actually told us, oh, my 5-year-old child can do this on Photoshop.
Support from family, friends, and also how do you manage your finances?
Okay. So my biggest struggle, right, was actually getting my family support. Not approval, because my mind was set, I'm doing this already. So it's more of support. My parents were, traditional Chinese family, they were like, why are you quitting your job? You should, get a house, start a family, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, this is my dream and I'm almost, reaching the age where, I'm going to miss out on a lot of things during the prime time of my life. So I said, I'm doing it. And they realized how defiant I was. They couldn't really stop me. So as time went by, I started to mentally prep them since 2 years before this journey. Just a couple of weeks before we started, which was January last year, 2024, my dad suddenly said, I'm buying a bike and I'm coming with you. And I was like, what? So what a shock to us, really. And actually, my parents are, also around the world. Their bike currently is in Croatia, and they plan to carry on to the UK and further on.
Have picture.
Yeah. So this is my parents. They were in Uzbekistan, in the city of Khiva, a very historical place along the Silk Road. And we actually intersected a few times. We first met up along our tour through China. So actually, as an FYI, if you want to bring your own foreign vehicle through China, it's mandatory to go on a tour. So Central Asia, we also rode a bit of my family. But because we enjoy off-road so much, right, and you see my dad's CB400, I think it suffered quite a lot in Tajikistan. So we split for quite some time, and then we, went separate ways after that.
So in case you guys want to know, these guys are called what?
Boomers on bikes.
Boomers on bikes.
By the way, my dad is 70. He got his 2B at 68.
So
Very
that
kekiang.
means your whole thing about, I need to ride at the prime time of my life, bo pakai already.
Okay lah.
Your
Because your dad is doing
father and mother
70
can do.
But those things that, what your father did, I can totally relate. Because if imagine I'm at 60 plus and I have a daughter that tells
So
me
young
that
lah.
wants to go on a world tour. Did your father disagree in the first place?
He did. He said this
Because
is a
I would say no too.
stupid decision.
Yeah, I would say no.
You were telling me that time.
Yeah, because I'm also a father, but although mine is a son, but I can relate if my son want to go on a world tour. But because now I'm already a rider, so I say let's go together.
Easier to
Yeah.
relate.
But if let's say I'm not a rider, like your dad that did not start riding, then I'll say no. But then I want my daughter to be safe. I want to be part of this. That's why I go and pick up learning. So I can relate and I can
actually,
feel
you got
how
a
your
point.
father feel. So I think he's really very happy to be able to see you guys there riding together with the daughter.
Yeah.
It's a very heartwarming feeling for him.
But it may have started out like that.
It could be.
But our friend kena sangkut with bike already, bro. It's quite interesting. I think a lot of people are very scared of being uncomfortable, of being sticky. But once you see the sceneries and the location and you experience everything there,
It's
just
worth
becomes
it.
a whole
The
different-
magical part is the magical part about all this, right? Is to put yourself outside and
Yes.
receive whatever you get from the nature or
Exactly.
the process of life, which is the amazing part of what I feel motorcycle riding or adventure riding is all about, lah.
Okay, so for my case, basically my family was okay with everything. I think coming from the experience of riding in India and now knowing exactly what I wanted to accomplish in this trip, I knew exactly what I was going to pack. And I think all that prior experience just snowballed and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I would say that there weren't any major challenges as I prepared
So
for this
what
trip.
would you say for those people who want to attempt this kind of thing without those prior experience? Are those really very crucial and critical to have before you attempt this kind of long distance?
It will be helpful, but I think it's not a must. I would say minimally do a short tour from here to Thailand or something. Get a feel of a couple of border crossings. Get a feel of being on the road alone for about a week or so. If you like it, carry on.
So you guys have covered so much of a distance so far. Like, what has been the most memorable or surprising moment of the journey?
Okay, let's talk about how much distance we've covered first.
Okay, so in 11 months, we've covered about 50,000 kilometers, 332.
every day.
332 days.
But you don't ride every
no,
day,
but
right?
we don't ride every day.
332 days. Do one more day lah. 333 days.
It's triple three after that.
Surprisingly, we went into 3 countries we didn't think we were going to go into at first. Number 1, Russia. Number 2, Mongolia. Number 3, Afghanistan. These are 3 countries we never planned to go into. Through meeting people, through, technical, through logistics, through visa, blah, 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 blah. We ended up going into Russia in transit to Mongolia. Spent 5 weeks in Mongolia, basically learning how to live like a nomad
Yeah, I saw those pictures, man.
and having a
Very
blast.
beautiful.
And then we returned through Mongolia, through Russia again. Russia was amazing. The Altai region was really just mind-blowingly beautiful.
Yeah. If you see between Kazakhstan and Mongolia, there's a very small stretch of around 1,000 kilometers through Russia. That's called the Altai region. And the people there are not like white, you know, they look very much Asian, like the Kazakhs, the Mongols. And
Singaporeans. They almost look Singaporean.
Correct. It's very interesting, that region. Mountainous, there's a ski resort there. Yeah,
But
so
it's considered Russia.
it is Russia.
You are almost in the same time zone as Singapore. It's literally, you go straight north up from Singapore is Mongolia, actually.
Yeah.
So people don't forget how big Russia is. People forget there's a lot of Asian-looking people in Russia. There are a lot of Asian-looking people in Russia. In fact, as a Singaporean, if you look like Nerine, you will blend in perfectly there. People look exactly like Singaporeans. And people are very nice and stuff. So, yeah, we had a blast over there.
Yeah, and actually one of the reasons why we detoured 3,000 kilometers one way to go to Mongolia was we met a fellow overlanding couple on dirt bikes as well from Canada, and they were telling us that they were going to Mongolia because it's good weather there in August. It's nice and cool. And we also had friends who originally, long time ago, planned a motorcycle trip in Mongolia. So we thought, it's a good time to go there and meet them. So we ended up spending 5 weeks there, and then we came back down to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan.
Were you all like following a route, or was it we know our general direction, let's just head there?
Exactly, that.
So it's
So
like
that's how
now, end of the day, how? Tomorrow
It's
want
the
to,
life, like,
want
it's
to
the
go,
life.
or just want to chill one more day, then you
no.
decide on the
Yeah.
spot.
Best
Correct.
shit ever.
Wow.
So we could wake up in the
envy,
morning, siala, today weather doesn't look good for riding. Okay lah, we do some local sightseeing, or maybe just catch up on our posting, or
Wow, best.
And that's the
just
best.
rest it out.
Because it is during these moments when we suddenly discover, there's like a festival coming up. We can, aim to go to this place. And that's how we found out about the World Nomad Games in Astana, which is in Kazakhstan. So the first time when we were going up to Kazakhstan, heading to Mongolia, we were hanging around Astana, which is the capital city of Kazakhstan. Then we saw these big banners in the city, World Nomad Games 2024. And so we Googled the dates and we realized, it's about, 1 month from now. We could just do Mongolia, come back for the games. So these nomad games is really interesting. Basically, countries come together and compete in traditional nomadic games. And the one in the picture here is actually horseback archery. They have horseback archery, horseback racing, wrestling. They have horse racing.
I'll just pause you for a second. That actually, if you go back to that picture, that guy is a Singaporean, by the way.
Serious?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. He's a Singaporean guy who's a traditional archer who happened to work at Singapore Polo Club. And then he put the two things together and then became a horseback archer. And he actually did pretty well. I was like, Singapore, let's show them what we have.
But the picture just now you show, Nerine,
Yeah.
very pretty there, huh? Nice clothes, nice costume.
So at this festival, everyone was so well dressed up, right? And the friends that we were staying with, they're actually Indonesians, Indonesian diplomat couple living in Astana. They're like, since you're going for this festival, Nerine, we have to dress you and Haren up. So they dressed us up in their local Kazakh gear. And when we, just walked around the festival, people just spoke to us in Kazakh because we look so local.
Because you
Because you're
are
wearing
pen,
their
right?
stuff, what?
And you,
Yeah,
you're
and we're
wearing
Asian.
traditional
And we're
gear.
Asian
Hold
looking.
on. Kazakhstan, if you guys watch Borat, yes, very nice, great success. Please throw all of that out the door. Kazakhstan, the people do not look like that. Kazakhstan people look like your average Singaporean Chinese. Guys, Central Asia is going to be the next big hit. As a biker, you guys gotta go. Kyrgyzstan was amazing. Kazakhstan is amazing. There's a pretty good bike culture. The terrain, if you guys like adventure, you guys like all terrain, basically off-roading. There's some amazing maps where you will see crazy shortcuts. Like you'll see one city in Kyrgyzstan, another city in Kyrgyzstan, and it'll be the highway. And then suddenly you say, I got this dotted line that goes like,
Off-road.
across, all fully off-road. And you're like in the middle of nowhere. Like you don't see anybody for 50, 100 kilometers, just mountains, canyons.
Normally at the borders, right, there'll be plenty of money changers. And so far, based on experience, the border money changers, right, is those random guys holding stacks of cash. Their rates are far better than the shops, when you enter the cities. And all over Southeast Asia, China, cards are widely accepted. In fact, Central Asia, they accepted, like petrol kiosks, they accepted our cards as well. But except for countries like, Afghanistan, Iran,
The ulu
you have
place
to
lah.
prepare cash USD for that. Haren is the more social one between us,
Yeah,
so
he
he
is.
likes to stop and engage with other travelers and all that. I also like doing that but when it's time to move on, sometimes I'll be a bit short and say, hey, cut it short, let's go. Yeah, but we try to, be empathetic. Empathy is very important. Put yourself in the other person's shoe. And I try to remind myself, whatever he's doing that maybe might frustrate me, at the end of the day is with good intentions. He's trying to do the best for both of us. So no point getting frustrated or fed up only to make him more, tense or, cause friction.
Anxious.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. What about Harin?
Chewai Rim Road. Arguments off the intercom and keep a distance.
That one easy, yeah. That one straight
Really
away.
lah.
You,
Actually, that's the
I was just
worst
saying, I was just
thing,
telling you the volume button you press and hold 2 seconds. Mute.
That thing is going to cause more problem. Yeah.
Temporary relief.
No, man. A great, bigger problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall it's been quite rare. I think, both of us are very well-traveled people and both of us are quite patient. I think being patient and just like Nerine said, being empathic of each other is important. Riding with Nerine when she's not fully confident can be quite scary because she would just scream into the intercom.
Yeah, very
So-
reactive. Like a small jerk, I'll,
Yeah, so I'll be riding and then I'm always looking in my rear view to make sure she's okay. And then I don't look and I don't think something's gonna happen. And then this scream just comes in my ear. And I'll look behind and then I'm trying to off-road at the same time looking behind. So then I also start to get more worked up and stressed up.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So, then that initially led to a bit of friction, but now I think Narine's pretty well settled into her
This
bike.
one, she now expert
Flying.
already lah,
I think that kind I need
pro
to mute
already lah.
myself.
Hey, Kado, mute
If I need
microphone.
to shout, I can mute myself. I think Kado can voice controller.
Yeah, hey, Kado, mute microphone.
Oh my
So then
God.
after
You
that,
mute
hey, Kado,
microphone.
unmute
But-
microphone.
But don't be like me.
Which country or region has been your favorite to ride through so far? And why?
Okay. Okay. I think a lot of people know this answer actually. If you all follow us on Instagram. Okay. Most intriguing and interesting country so far.
Afghanistan.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum.
I mean, it was really an experience. I think we were the first 2 bikers to ever overland from Singapore to Afghanistan. We might be wrong. Maybe there are other people, but I think we are the first 2 to ever do it. And we also didn't do the usual tourist route. We went in from Uzbekistan into Mazar-e-Sharif to Kabul, and then we took this crazy central route where experienced people and very famous bloggers were telling us, do not take it. Do not go.
Why?
Because it is just off-road for 1,000 kilometers.
That's the best road.
Correct.
Best
But it just goes through the middle of nowhere. The only one landmark along the way is this 900-year-old, 65-meter tall, which is as tall as a HDB, minaret in a river valley, all on its own. Everything around it was destroyed by Genghis Khan when he invaded Afghanistan.
Wait, how do you all settle the accommodation here when there's 1,000 click of no roof over your head?
Stay in guest houses, crash what they call chaikana, tea houses. So it's like a restaurant. And okay, now one thing about Afghanistan, right? The restaurants are not like communal where males and females sit together. It is very mafan if you have a woman in your group to find a proper restaurant. In more established restaurants, they have male seating and then a separate private area for families or women only.
That is for Afghanistan only lah.
Afghanistan. So in most places, we had to find, those private seating because of me. So in this remote region of the central route in Afghanistan, we managed to find like a restaurant cum guest house, which had a private room. It was just a flat bed, nothing else, and we just crashed there lah.
Yeah.
God knows when the last time they washed that bed was lah.
So
But
you were lucky in the way you found that place also. It's also kind of a luck stuff.
No, we did a lot of research. I would spend nights and nights literally looking at the satellite view of Afghanistan to see where the towns are, what kind of road will we be driving, because I kept receiving conflicting. It's very interesting. If you put Kabul and Herat, the westernmost city and the easternmost city, on Google, you'll receive a straight line across Afghanistan. This is the central route.
So the roads are not documented lah.
The roads are not documented. Whatever it shows on Google is kind of the central route, but it's not exactly the central route.
Very inaccurate.
It is an inaccurate version of the central route.
Ooh.
So I had to ask people who had done it. They themselves didn't have a GPX. They themselves got into a lot of trouble where they had to camp in the middle of the road. I'm like, cannot be. There must be a way across because the locals are doing it. What are the locals doing?
We bumped into a local tour guide in one of the villages just before we attempted the most remote section.
Shout out to Mr. Nuri of Safarat. Very nice guy.
And he basically verified our route, made certain corrections, and told us to avoid actually certain parts of the main highway that we actually intended to take, because that highway section was a very dangerous section with past cases of like robbery, theft.
Beautiful!
Yes, this is Bandi Amir National Park, which is along that central route. Very beautiful, and actually something ironic, right, is females are actually not allowed to enter this park. For whatever reason, it's the rule of the Taliban. They said females are not allowed to enter this park. So we just took the risk. Let's try lah, you know. A lot of guides actually told us, since you're a female lah, you go early morning before the Taliban open their gate. Or you go at 5 p.m. when they, fang tong already. But we went at around 2, 3 p.m. And actually we met a guard, the Taliban guard. He came out, he said, Salam alaikum, or 2 tickets. Okay, we paid our entrance fee, and then he was like, okay, have fun.
Welcome. So actually, the people not allowing ladies into the park is not the normal guards. Is the cultural police.
Right.
And cultural police,
understand.
sure, one level above normal guards, like a bit.
You want to show authority lah.
Correct. So normal guards are positioned there 24/7, lan, they're gonna sit there. Cultural police works office hours.
Lots of checkpoints actually throughout Afghanistan. They just want to make sure that you're safe through village to village.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so usually Haren will take the lead, be in front, because one good thing about Haren is that he is very fast in picking up new languages. So he picked up Pashto, Farsi, a bit of Urdu, and actually a lot of the local Afghanis, they watch a lot of Bollywood and they know how to speak Hindi. So the moment he speaks Hindi, right, wow, they damn bro with him.
Superstar already, yeah.
They damn bro with him. So naturally, as a woman or his wife, right, I get the due respect, and the welcome from them
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
so speaking about this language communication throughout all these places, any major problem communicating?
Okay, I would say everywhere you can try to Google Translate, but I feel if you at least are able to say hello, good day, thank you, welcome, all the usual stuff in that language, and the more you have tried to show you can speak or are inclined to learn how to speak, the more people like you, the more people
No,
want to be
I
friends with
completely
you.
agree. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in fact, this is a little trick for you guys out there. We ride really slow bikes. There's many long days on the highway. People ask us, what do we do? What do? We put a podcast or sometimes YouTube video. Please keep your eyes on the road, but listen. And we learn language. We learn the next language of wherever you're going to go.
Generally, English is... They understand English?
No, not quite.
No.
Especially Central Asia. If you go out to the more remote regions, we like to do off-road. They don't speak, much English. But because these are ex-Soviet Union countries, they speak Russian. Yeah, so you don't really have to go and learn Kazakh, Uzbek, Kyrgyz, Russian.
No,
So-
I think people generally appreciates you learning their language because it shows that you are willing to learn the culture.
Correct.
And be part.
So like most of the time it started
See-
with
see
a
this.
chicken and a duck
Have a look at this, bro.
conversation.
Yes. Okay, there's something behind this picture that we took. So remember I mentioned that in Afghanistan, the communal eating area is mainly for men.
Right.
So this is a typical setting in a chaikana, in a tea house, where they just sit on mats and they eat directly. There's very few places they have chairs and tables, but this was the site. But in this place, there was actually not enough rooms for women, so they allowed me to sit in that area, but they actually put us right at a corner so that I was blocked by a pillar.
I have not actually in this whole year questioned myself, why am I doing this, wanted to at any point. But I know where Benny is coming from, or there's been a point where I have questioned that. It wasn't on this trip, it was in India once when I was solo. I felt I was riding for the sake of riding.
Because Nerine not there, ma.
That's why I haven't met Nerine yet.
Oh, haven't. No.
That's why.
That's why.
Maybe, perhaps. So that's why I'm about to touch on. And secondly, also, when I just moved off, I had a very close shave. I nearly got in an accident, just 10 kilometers outside where I moved off from. And then I was like, that thing just stuck in my mind. So I can say, one thing is, if you're riding solo, this is something you have to be aware of, that human connection is very important. And I think wherever there's been human connection, you're like, yeah, this is fun, this is nice, this is awesome. When there's too much time without human connection, that's when you will start to think, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? There's no goal, there's no human connection, then things start
So
to
if
go,
let's
why
say
am I
you're stuck
suffering?
in the Central Asia, like the highway, and you're all alone, then probably these thoughts will come into your mind.
Correct. That's probably where, this, or you get a close shave, or you go into accident, even worse, and then you start to think of these things. We have gone to purposely make sure every once in a while we touch base with our friends or purposely meet people. We're both quite sociable, so bring the people in, understand their culture. Then you're like, okay, now I know why I'm doing this.
Okay.
Shout out to Sabbatical family as well. Those guys drove their Land Rover from here all the way to Turkey.
From 2025 onwards, what is next from here?
Okay, so currently our bikes are parked in a garage in Bulgaria, and we are here back in Singapore for about a month plus to enjoy Chinese New Year and take a break over winter in Europe.
Take
Because
ang
it's
pao.
crazy. Yeah, one of them also lah.
Eat
It's
bakwa.
crazy cold in Bulgaria. The last few days, right, of our rides in 28, 29 December was just in ice, snow, -1 degree. So it's painful lah. But when we return in February, end of February, it will still be snowing. We'll go skiing in Bulgaria and collect our bikes and go down south to Greece, do the Balkans, and then head up to Norway, down to the UK for
How
3
long are you
months.
staying in Norway? You got to stay a long time in Norway. Norway is beautiful.
I know lah, but then we only have a limit of 90 days out of a 180-day period in Schengen countries, and a bulk of EU.
Why?
That's
Visa.
the visa requirements lah. Yes. Unless you have some working visa that allows you to stay longer lah.
Now is the time where I question myself, why am I here? why are we here? Rachel has been like, oh, nice. Then why are we here?
Hey, let's go lah.
Yeah. Find the right companion and do the adventure together. Really.
With Amos.
Yeah, the three of us.
Amos, faster recover.
Amos,
You are going with us.
Yeah.
So after that, then we are heading down to Morocco by the end of this year. And then from Morocco, we are thinking of doing a ride down to South Africa. And from there, we will discuss again and see what's next.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you'll hit Morocco by end of this year.
Yeah, you can join us there. It's so easy to fly there, rent CRFs and blast in the dunes. Internet so far, we have relied on eSIMs, especially countries like Russia, Iran, where general if you get like local SIM card, right, you can't use your WhatsApp, Telegram, Instagram, get except
Do you
for Telegram.
carry a
lah.
satellite phone for emergency?
Actually, this year, no. But then when we did this very remote crossing of Afghanistan, we borrowed it from the Sabbatical family. They had one. So we borrowed it and then we activated it just in case anything happened. So we would shoot up the check-in twice a day. This year, I think we will probably carry one because you don't need it until you need it.
Yes.
And then when
Yeah.
you need it, it's life and death.
Also, when we were crossing through Afghanistan and Iran, we checked in with Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MFA. You can do that e-check-in, like which country you are from. So I checked us in for the dates we were in these two countries, and they actually wrote to us. They WhatsApp called me and asked, "You really going to Afghanistan and Iran ah?" Then they're like, "Yeah, you're real one ah. I saw y'all in the papers. So you're really going ah? Can y'all don't go?" And I said,
Can you all take
"Huh?"
a flight?
And I said, "Hey, our bikes are with us, and we are only 50 kilometers away from the border of Afghanistan." So, they realized they couldn't really stop us. But, that was still their advice. We created a WhatsApp group chat. And every day, the representative from MFA would actually check in with us. Are you guys safe? How are you
Wow.
doing?
What have you all learned about each other along the way?
Very reliable guy lah.
Oh,
He'll
I
definitely,
see.
account for you, take care of you.
Okay
I mean,
lah.
not you lah, like me lah.
So wait. So when's the date?
No,
The date to continue?
No.
28 Feb. That one I take care of him because he has never skied before. Yeah.
So what about Haren? What's your
Narine's very dependable and she's an excellent planner. Like when it comes to planning and organization, she's definitely a lot better.
That one I believe.
Yeah. So, very, very on the ball with day-to-day planning of the routes, creating seeing where all the sightseeing places are and all of that.
Okay.
That's Narine's forte, really. Yep.
Before we open the questions to the members, last question from me would be like, what advice would you give to someone planning to do a long distance motorcycle journey, especially as a couple?
What
as a
advice?
couple.
What advice would you
Especially
give
as
to
a
someone?
couple.
I think in general, if you want to do overlanding, start small. Thailand is a great place to explore. Then you can explore Cambodia, Laos. So start small, and like Haren said earlier, get used to interacting with border authorities. That is the most, I guess, like frustrating and can be a bit mentally draining part, because they're going to ask you a lot of questions. But so long as you have all your permits, your paperwork, everything is neat, right? You get through that very easily. And then it becomes very routine, and you can know what to expect in other borders. And within Southeast Asia, you also come across cops that may be crooks as well. Thankfully, we didn't really experience many of that. But it's a good chance to hone your skills in being street smart and interacting with these people.
Learn how to work on your bike. It can be a fun couple thing also to learn how to work on your bikes together and stuff. But then generally, I think also our various skill sets have kind of created our own niches in what we do.
Yeah.
So always keeping an eye on the bikes, keeping an eye on what needs to be maintained, serviced, whatever usually falls on me, because I have a mental mind map of all of that. Cooking, etc. falls on Nerine. Because she knows how to handle the kitchen much better than me. So for medical emergency, very important, we carry a trauma kit, not just a first aid kit. We carry a trauma kit. Trauma kit
Like this
means
size.
we have a splint, we have a tourniquet, we have big bandages that can stop a lot of bleeding. Yeah.
We know what tourniquets are.
Yeah. No, we know what is it.
And then also very important that in the medical kit, you carry painkiller and antibiotics, because if you have an open fracture, how long until you administer antibiotics can make a difference between whether you're going to amputate that limb or not.
And
Like
also,
your-
before you go on your trip, you should get a tetanus jab
Yes.
Yeah.
Along the way, do you need to buy special insurance
for vehicles.
for vehicle or yourself?
Okay, so for ourselves, because we are on such a long trip, right? If you buy any insurance from local companies, they're only going to cover you for maybe up to 180 days. So there's a company online called Safety Wing by World Nomads. So that insurance you can buy when you're even out of the country, and you can stop anytime. So that covers us mainly for medical emergencies. They also cover things like flight delays and stuff, which not really very applicable to us, but it's sufficient for at least rescue and evacuations.
But remember the very interesting fine print about safety wings. Their basic plan apparently says they cover motorbiking and mopeds. But when you go into the fine print, the definition of a motorbike or moped is below 50cc.
So you have to upgrade your plan to advanced sports or extreme sports.
Oh.
Then you get covered for all bikes.
Yeah, so Central Asia, we never heard of any mandatory insurance there. So we didn't really get insurance for these countries for bikes. But once we entered, Georgia, Turkey, and Europe, then actually the authorities there clamped down on, enforce
Third party insurance, at least.
third party. Yes.
So you will know when you need to buy the insurance, basically. What happened is in Thailand, you will be covered with your own insurance, and then it's up to you whether you want to buy insurance. When we started to approach the borders of Georgia, Armenia, we were told at the border to buy. So it is clear cut. Okay, here onwards, we know we are becoming more
around the border,
developed,
there
more
are
Europe.
agencies selling insurance.
Yes.
Just like Thai, you go through Sadao.
Correct.
Yeah.
correct.
So at most borders, there will always be like a money changer, SIM card, and insurance.
Most
Yeah.
borders or all
Most borders. Most.
Oh, okay. So we're going to end the podcast. And a huge thanks to Haren and Nerine for joining us and sharing their amazing
Thank
journey.
you.
Yay!
I'm just going to end off on a little thing I came up with, basically, or maybe I didn't come up with it. I've probably heard it before and I'm just repeating it. Number one, biggest regret, not doing it earlier.
Loyal
Hardest
man.
part of the journey is making the decision to leave. All right.
So true.
Let's go.
Yeah.
It's
Let's go.
so true, right? Guys, thank you so much, really, for having
you,
us
thank you.
here
Yeah, so
again.
be sure to follow them on their social media to keep up with their adventures. Very interesting. Hopefully you'll see us towards the end of the year.
A bit soon, right?
Got chance or not? Okay. Anyway, so to end that, I'm Winston.
I'm Mark.
This is Mark.
I'm Haren.
And I'm Nerine.
See you on the road.
You're not very okay.
Have a good one.